at the Disney movies with the Harts. Bonus episode.
I would hope they would know who we are, but I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
And so this is a recap of episodes 41 through 50, where we just kind of rehash some of the details. But real quick before we get into it.
Or if you're new to this, hang on.
Okay.
If you're new, we have a list of theatrically released Disney movies that we watch at random. We have no choice in what we watch. It's all just random. That's kind of the whole thing behind this. If this is your first time listening, or if you've listened to it a few times maybe or something and you don't really understand what we're doing, that's what we're doing. Just to recap.
Just so you know.
Yeah.
So we did get a very nice email from a listener. So I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's quite a lengthy email, but this is from Renee. And they just shared some interesting facts about Pinocchio. It was a failure on initial release, but not for its quality. In 1940, even though we hadn't entered the war yet, England and Europe were in the thick of it, and movies stopped being released overseas. This was a huge market for Disney to lose as it brought in so much revenue for Snow White. The film was re-released in 1945 and immediately made back its budget, running for 22 weeks straight in New York. And then there was a bunch of other stuff in the email, but we just wanted to thank Renee for sending that email because that was actually really, really interesting to me because I don't really take the time to look up all that stuff. So.
The history, the deep history.
Yeah, this podcast is definitely not a history podcast, but if you do have fun facts, we definitely like to hear them because it really makes the recap part more interesting.
You mean our totally unresearched, completely...
Our research is our own experience. It's a psychological experiment.
Yeah, and 10 minutes on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb after we watched the movie so we know who everybody was.
Yeah. This isn't a research paper, it's more of a psychological experiment.
Yeah. Why would we keep doing this after watching something like G-Force?
So, speaking of G-Force, what were the 10 movies that we watched this time, David?
All right, so our 10 movies, starting with number 41, is Emil The Detectives, G-Force, The Fox and the Hound, Unidentified Flying Oddball, Pinocchio, That Darn Cat, College Road Trip, Zootopia, Alexander and the No Good, Terrible, Very Bad Day, and Underdog.
This was a really strange group of movies.
Man.
We did have a very large variety of old movies and new movies, though. I will say that we had Pinocchio, Fox and the Hound, so like classic animated, but we had the wacky live action, like Oddball, Emil, Darn Cat, and then we had the terrible new ones, G-Force and
College Road Trip.
Underdog. So there really was a range of movies in this grouping.
There was a really good range, and there were some great movies and just some terrible movies. Not a lot in the middle of the road on this one. Not a lot where I'm like, oh, I could take it or leave it.
Yeah. Did any of these movies advance into your top 10?
Into the top 10 of scores? Yes. Darn Cat vaulted itself to number 7 on my list.
Yeah, you really enjoyed that movie a lot.
I love that movie. It's great.
None of the ones we watched made it into my top 10.
Not even Darn Cat?
No. But if I was going to make some changes to my top 10...
Oh, I have my actual top 10.
Oh, you have your actual top 10?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Because in my actual top 10, 3 movies from this made it.
Wait, 3 movies from this group made it?
Yeah, absolutely.
What were the 3 movies?
The 3 movies were Emil, Darn Cat, and UFO, Unidentified Flying Object.
Wait, Unidentified Flying Oddball is in your top 10 out of all the movies we watched?
Of my favorite movies that I would absolutely 100% watch again.
Oh, okay. You say actual top 10, I get confused and I think...
yeah. So, yeah, it's the top 10 that is actually in my heart, not the rating I gave on that day for no reason.
Okay, gotcha. Okay. Because I would also put That Darn Cat in the top 10 easily.
Yeah.
Like, easily. Emil, I don't know that would quite be in my top 10, but it would be close. It would be like an honorable mention, maybe a 12 or 13
and
level.
You can't reach out to Unidentified Flying Oddball, huh?
So,
As time has gone by, I just love. I know.
I'm completely in agreement, and we'll get there. But I don't think it's top 10 quality because I have a pretty high quality top 10. Yeah. Oh, actually, that's not true. Zootopia made it up to my top 10, I think.
You don't.
Well, I didn't. Sorry, hold on.
Wow, talk about unresearched.
Not prepared.
Yeah.
Yes, it did. Zootopia made it to number 10. Sorry.
Wow, so scratch out this last part of the podcast.
No, we don't. That's it. Zootopia made it into my top 10.
And that was probably our biggest disagreement was that movie of Zootopia.
Yeah, because I rated it 82 and you only rated it 62.
Yeah.
Are there any other changes you make to your top 10?
I mean, so the normal changes where I have the Lone Ranger, getting rid of Coco, the Princess Diaries, the Incredibles.
Coco is almost out of your top 10, though.
It's just about gone.
Yeah,
it'll probably be gone by the next 10 list.
Yeah, 100%.
And moving Bullwhip way up to the top.
Well, I mean, pretty sure Bullwhip's going to be your number 2 movie or something, right?
It's still at 3. But I mean, it's weird that my ratings day up don't really reflect the top 10 that I feel at all.
I mean, mine...
Because, I mean, you kick out Hunchback of Notre Dame completely, which is 3 on my top 10, which is crazy. And you also kick out Beauty and the Beast, Princess Diaries, Incredibles, and Coco.
You are crazy with your Beauty and the Beast. It is by far the best movie that we've watched. But whatever, it's fine. It's fine. I understand. It's
I like
fine.
Cinderella better than that movie. What can I say?
I can't. I mean, I'm sorry that you're wrong, but it's fine.
And Swiss Family Robinson at that.
Yeah, no. I'm pretty happy with my top 10. Frankenweenie is still...
God, what a black mark on your record.
It's the black spot.
I mean, that is just not a good movie.
Yeah, I know. I got it. I'm aware that it's not a good movie. Thank you. But then our bottom 3, generally we agreed on the movies that were bad this time, but G-Force made it all the way down there to the second worst bad movie we've watched this entire time.
To me, yeah, it is the second worst, yeah.
Worst. It's not as bad as Planes for you.
And not as bad as what?
Shaggy Dog.
Shaggy Dog for you. I still can't believe that you gave Planes a better score than Shaggy Dog. I just can't. It's fine. You don't have to understand. I just don't like Shaggy Dog. I really hated that movie. In retrospect, was Planes probably a worse movie? Yeah, probably. But still, I stand by my poor reading of Shaggy Dog. Did we get anything in the top 5 bottom on this besides G-Force?
College Road Trip.
College Road Trip too. Yeah, I knew we had 2 real stinkers because that was also a this movie episode. And I mean, because all we just had was another Tim Allen movie, but with Martin Lawrence instead of Tim Allen.
It was pretty bad.
Yeah.
Did you notice any surprises on the Rotten Tomato ranking though?
I didn't really look at it as closely as I should have.
So
I'm going to piggyback with you because it's probably, going to be the same.
How did Pinocchio get 100%?
Oh, that's exactly what it is. Yeah. I think that you and I might be 2 of the only 18 people on the planet who don't like Pinocchio.
I don't think that's true.
100%. What was the people's rating, I wonder? I'm going to have to look it up now.
Yeah, look it up. I suspect that most of Pinocchio, anybody that likes it, is purely nostalgia. It has to be. There's no other explanation. There are good things about it, but it's not 100% movie.
What about all the smoking and drinking and cool stuff that's in it?
So cool.
Yeah. The audience is 73 on Rotten Tomatoes.
I mean, I think that's more realistic.
So, basically everybody likes it except for us. Almost everybody. There are haters out there. And I don't even hate it. I just don't think it's...
I don't like it.
I don't think it's that great of a movie. Yeah, you really didn't like it, but...
I have a problem with it's so hyped to the point where that song is literally the theme song for Disney as a company.
It is, yeah. That is their jam.
And it's just not great. I don't like it that much.
I just don't like the message of the movie. They didn't do enough.
What's the message of the movie?
The Jiminy and Pinocchio did a good enough job, and they didn't.
Oh, I pointed that out to somebody at work the other day about Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh my God, you're totally right.
Yeah.
He didn't deserve any of that. And I was like, yeah, I know.
It's just like, oh, man. And they say that the whole participation trophy era is now. Disagree. Hard disagree.
Jiminy Cricket is the original snowflake.
Yeah, he started it. It's bull. It's all a bunch of bull.
So what was your biggest surprise and some of your surprises from this?
Okay, so my biggest surprise is how grimy Pinocchio was, with all the smoking and the drinking and the violence and the it was very, very, very dirty, and that was very surprising to me.
Yeah,
because I just didn't remember it.
Yeah, no, I definitely did not remember it in that way either. But I was actually just really surprised by how good that darn cat was.
So I was going to put that too, but I thought that was too easy.
Well, yeah. Okay, and another one is I was surprised by how good Emil the Detectives was.
Yeah, and see, I didn't want to use how good or how bad this thing was. Between Emil, Unidentified Flying Oddball, and that darn cat, I mean, what a pleasant surprise all three of those movies were.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
I mean, Unidentified Flying Oddball, by any measure, should have just been lit on fire and thrown down a well. But it was amazing.
It's so great. It has so many hilarious scenes in it.
Yeah, I mean, it's and see, this is why, like, I really regret whatever score I gave it, because it's way too low. I mean, it was nonstop funny.
Yeah, and even after the fact, because when I was looking for a trailer to put on the website part, that song, there's a song in there that was just on an advertisement, was never in the movie, and I don't know why they didn't put it in the movie. It was perfect, and it was so incredible.
And just the whole premise of it was so bizarre, but so enjoyable. It's something that Disney would never do now.
Well, they did it in the 90s because they remade the movie.
Well, them remaking the movie doesn't mean anything. That's actually less than nothing in my eyes.
Well, they remade it under a slightly different premise, but it was the same thing essentially.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm surprised that Disney Animation made it so long, because if you look at Fox and the Hound and Pinocchio, they're both not these incredible movies. I mean, okay, supposedly Pinocchio was whatever.
Well, but Fox and the Hound has its fans. I mean, not me.
No, it does, and it has its good parts. And
it does have a good. I was probably a little hard on it, but man, there's a lot of that movie boring.
No, but it's just, if you look at where that is, and then where Zootopia is now in terms of animation, just how much money and effort they've put into the animations over. It's kind of crazy just how far they've come and how big it is now.
Zootopia is unbelievable as far as how nice it looks and how wonderful the universe is.
But that's what I'm saying. Think about Fox and the Hound to Zootopia, which Fox and the Hound was what, in the 80s?
But that's 30 years. I mean,
I know, but that's what I'm saying. And
30 plus years even.
Right, cool. And that's a big jump for 30 years, and obviously technology has jumped a lot, but just that...
So do you really think that the difference between Pinocchio and Fox and the Hound and then Zootopia is that big of a leap from each place? Because...
No, I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm more surprised that they kept investing money in it, because the 80s, which was such a dark time for Disney animation.
Yeah, but once they hit one out of the park,
I know, but it's just everything. It's incredible. I'm saying is the turnaround. You go from, you have these super classic, really, it's like a big U shape almost, super classic high level movies down into dark periods of the 70s and 80s, and then it's just really interesting how the animation portion of the company has changed.
So in that theory, we're headed on our way back down.
Probably true. Yeah, that's probably true.
That's probably true.
Would you remake any of these movies?
So this was probably the hardest part for me, and I went with Underdog, because done right, with just some little tweaks to the script and the story and a different voice for Underdog.
Oh, you didn't like Jason Lee as the voice? Oh, right. We talked about that because Jason Lee is Jason Lee.
Yeah,
right.
He's just he just is him. He can't be the villain in The Incredibles and this, and then it never made any sense. He doesn't even sound like a dog. This could be a really good movie. Even maybe adding a little bit of animated action, animated reality to it would be fun. But I would remake Underdog.
Interesting. So I had a hard time with this too, but it's only because 4 out of the 10 of these movies have already been remade. Some multiple times. Emil The Detectives, not necessarily by Disney. There's 4 versions of that movie.
Which I can see, though. I mean, that's a classic book. That whole story is so awesome.
It is awesome.
Yeah.
And Unidentified Flying Oddball is Kid in King Arthur's Court, which is also on our list, made in the 90s, which is the same thing but different. There was
way different. There's not going to be a porno mag in that one.
No, so good. The two other ones, what were they? I'm sorry, the other 2 that were remade.
Oh, I was going to use my phone.
Sorry, no. They're Pinocchio, which is coming out next year.
Yep.
The remake.
And it's been remade by other companies too.
And That Darn Cat also has a remake. So
that disgusts me.
Don't
remake perfect movies.
I
know you've seen it.
No. I wasn't going to say that. I was going to say, for my pick, I would actually remake Fox and the Hound. Because I think, and not even necessarily as an animated movie, I just feel like they could have done more based on the choices that I had.
You know what? I'll give you that. If they did what they did to ruin The Lion King and Aladdin to Fox and the Hound, with a live action, with the animated, that actually could be a pretty good movie.
Well, and if they added more depth to Todd and Copper's friendship, like we talked about in the episode,
right.
I think it would actually be a better movie. And maybe if they added 2 more songs.
And an actual hillbilly, they could have Sam Elliott be the Kentucky guy. And
and then they could have, for the old lady, who would they have? It has to be some old biddy. Maybe. Yeah. No, Kathy Bates is too cool for that.
I want to say it should be Angela Lansbury, but I don't think she's still alive.
No, but somebody like that, but maybe not quite that old.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I would pick her type, but not that old.
Yeah.
Still old, though.
No, that would, and I feel like that would just, I don't know, and maybe they already are going to be remaking it.
They totally should. I actually wish I would have come up with that, because that's actually interesting to remake.
And I just feel like visually it could be really cool, and they could do some really neat stuff with it.
They could even modernize it where the lady's a vegan and crunchy, and the dude is crazy MAGA and meat eater hunter guy.
Oh my god.
Hey, I'm just saying. It could be modernized, and it could still be a decent movie.
So that was my choice, based on the ones that hadn't been remade.
Fair enough.
That's what I would pick. But go ahead.
So what is your best scene?
This was really hard for me because if this grouping of movies has one thing, it is the king of best scenes. There are so many good scenes, even in the movies that are not very good. So I have a couple. I narrowed it to 3, and I'm probably forgetting amazing scenes, but my top one immediately that came to mind has to be the stupid magnet fight in Unidentified Flying Oddball.
That is pretty great. The magnet fight is really good.
It is so funny. Do you have more than one?
I have 2.
Okay, what's your first one?
My first one is the jewelry scene in That Darn Cat.
Yeah, that's
because it's so funny. She is such a master in that scene.
Yeah, she's great in everything.
And it's so damn good, and it's so funny.
Oh, it's not very expensive.
Yeah. It's just the whole setup around that of how she just completely has this guy and the FBI in her little hands of her fun game and just manipulates everybody. I love it. I love it.
No, that part's really good. And I'll piggyback on that with my second one, the end scene of That Darn Cat. The end sequence of the villains and the fight and that whole thing. So
funnily enough, my other one was the end of Unidentified Flying Oddball.
Oh, the fight.
Stupid jet fight. All that. And then my other runner-up is, I had a hard time picking an Emil scene. Yeah. But I decided, no, I'll save that. That's actually my other one.
Okay. Never mind. Do you have another scene that you were thinking of for best scene? Because I have one more.
Go ahead.
So it's going to sound really weird, but I got to give a little love to Alexander, the driving test scene in Alexander.
That is, oh man, I totally forgot about that. That is absolutely one of the best
things we saw. It's so short, but it's all because of, what's her face? Jennifer.
And she just knocked Coolidge.
Jennifer Coolidge,
and she just knocked it out of the park. This really, I feel like we're missing a lot, but you are right. This was the king of good scenes.
Yeah, because that little scene was so funny, and I thought you were going to pick the play from Alexander, to be honest.
You know what? If I would have remembered, I would have picked it because that was fantastic.
Alexander,
oh my God,
was kind of a forgettable movie, but also looking back...
Not really, though.
But looking back on it, it actually really wasn't that bad. Like, I was thinking about it yesterday or something like that, and I thought, well, maybe it wasn't that bad.
We both kept saying it wasn't that bad.
No, I know, but looking back on it, I have some fondness for it.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. But what I don't have fondness for is this group had a very poor selection of villains.
Disagree.
What?
The Skrinks in Emil.
Okay,
the Mole, the Baron, and Grundice are great.
I meant as a whole, for all the movies, there were a lot that were missing villains.
That's true. I mean, because the only other one I could come up with was Tyrion Lannister. But the Skrinks were great.
They were great. They were amazing, and they were initially my first choice. But then I was like, oh no, that's completely the wrong answer. The thugs from Darn Cat.
Oh yeah, I totally forgot about them. They were really good too.
Yeah,
but I would still pick the Emil villains.
Yeah, they were pretty good. Especially the Baron guy.
He was so cool with
really
his crazy stories and just being so classy with everything he did was amazing to me. I really liked the Baron.
Yeah, no,
and I really liked the Mole, too. He was a weird guy, but he was effective.
Yeah, and there's another scene also it's just a small throwaway scene, but when they're in the tunnel or whatever, and they're playing cards, and he's like, you're cheating or whatever, and he throws his cards
and Grundice walks away.
Yeah, that part's really funny.
That's really funny. You're exactly right. Because otherwise, you're right. A lot of these did not have villains. College Road Trip, didn't really have a villain other than Martin Lawrence.
It didn't. G-Force, it had the one guy, but he was really ineffective. It had the Mole, but that guy was...
And it was the same thing with Zootopia, where it was, revealed at the end that this was the actual villain, which is just... We've talked about how lame that is.
And Pinocchio had too many villains, and so none of them really stood out that well.
Well, plenty of them stood out, but...
Well, yeah, but it's not... It just wasn't...
Was just gross.
Yeah, and Underdog, like you said, had Tyrion Lannister.
And the Fox and the Hound doesn't really have a villain because you can't really call that redneck guy a villain.
That's what they say the villain is,
but it doesn't really play out when you watch the movie. You're basically flipping a coin. Whatever side it lands on is right. It could be right any different time. So, yeah, it doesn't play out for me. What was your most compelling scene?
So... This one's always really hard because there actually was a couple of choices, but I went with the bear fight in Fox and the Hound at the end of the movie because that to me is of all of the movies that we watched, there's 50 movies now. That scene still stands out as during the movie while we were watching it. I know what happens. I've watched the movie a lot, but I still was like, oh, what's going to happen? I was still kind of...
I can see that. That was really pretty good. You really didn't know what was going to happen if you haven't seen it, because I hadn't seen it and I had no idea.
And even if I knew what was going to happen, it still pulled me in with the animation and just the way the scene was staged and just it was a good scene.
Absolutely. I agree with that. I went with the fake call and basically the end of Emil the Detectives with, where he calls them from the payphone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. How cool is that?
It's pretty cool.
That's a great way to end that movie, is he makes that fake phone call, and it just sets everything up perfectly.
Oh, wait, you mean the fake call where he's
He calls the police station as the dad to talk to...
Oh, right, to talk to Pony.
To Pony, yeah.
Okay.
And as a little addendum, just how great Pony was in this movie.
She was pretty great, yeah, she was pretty good.
If we should actually add the category of strongest performance, because she probably would have gotten the belt for this one.
out of all of the movies.
Yeah, maybe.
Think
Or maybe strongest supporting character.
Yeah, strongest.
And then strongest act.
I was gonna say the strongest performance is Haley Mills.
Yeah, absolutely,
by far.
of course. But we should add those categories because, and to tighten this up a little bit, I feel like we're rambling a lot in this one.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I maybe would give an honorable mention to voice acting by Jason Bateman in Zootopia as the fox Nick that you can never remember the name of.
Yeah. Okay, all right.
What was the next question?
The bullwhip.
Oh, yeah. So, actually, I think my bullwhip is going to be on Unidentified Flying Oddball because I only rated it a 49%.
Right, of course. Both of us.
I would probably rate it a 65 to 70%.
I'd probably put it in the 80s somewhere.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's so original. That is such a different kind of movie.
It's just so crazy. Like, every scene in that movie is so crazy. I can't... Like, even think about the very beginning where they're shooting him into space and he's saying, I can't be on the spaceship, and the dude's just like, oh, you'll be fine, bye. Like...
Yeah. The whole movie is out of this world and totally unexpected from beginning to end.
Right.
I don't know how you could do better.
Guess we'll find out. Did you think of any additional questions?
I came up with a couple.
So did I. I only have 2. You go first.
So what was the best of the bad? Like, what was the best scene in the bad, worst, terrible movies? What was your favorite part of terrible movies?
Favorite part of the terrible movies?
Mm-hmm. Mine is silly.
You go first.
So I'll go first. I'll give you a second. In College Road Trip, where the grandma was having key party swingers club thing, is hilarious. That is so funny to have in that movie. And the whole grandma experience in general, I know it is kind of a trope of grandma, whatever, but that was funny as hell.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That's a really tough question. I was trying to think of something for G-Force, but there's literally no good scenes in that movie.
Yeah, really? You have the farting scene?
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? No, there is actually in the pet store with the 3 mice that are when they go to the pet store in G-Force, and there's Steve Buscemi, hamster.
That's the farting scene.
But take the farting part out. Just when they're, they're trying to get adopted and...
But I'm agreeing with you that is the best scene in that movie.
I'll go with that because just Steve Buscemi's cameo is so good, and the 3 mice that are pooping his hand, and just I'll go with that. That's what I'll go with.
That's fair. So what do you got?
Considering so many of these movies are based on books, especially even in our last 10, which of these movies would be in your book club? So, like, which book would you want to read?
Emil the Detectives 100 times out of 100.
Interesting. So I would actually want to read the darn cat book. It's like the secret cat.
I think that plays on both of our personalities because you're a cat lover.
Yeah.
And I just want to read some because that German book of Emil the Detectives is way older than the movie.
Yeah.
And that to me is very interesting.
Did you have another question?
Yeah. So what of all these last 10 played the biggest on your heartstrings? Did you ever get a little dusty?
Yeah, okay, and as much as crap as we talked about Pinocchio, I did a little bit, when he's at the end, when Geppetto's like, oh, you're a real boy, blah, blah, blah. And, that's, or when he thinks Pinocchio's dead, that part is kind of sad.
So, see, I went the other way of the heartstrings, of the happy heartstrings, but the same movie.
Oh.
When he gets Pinocchio and he's celebrating.
Oh, yeah.
It just makes me feel so good. It brings a little tear to my eye where they're dancing and playing all the music and he's so happy. That's just great. I mean, really.
Maybe that's why people like Pinocchio.
Geppetto is the best part of Pinocchio. Geppetto is amazing and they take him out of the movie.
No, the best part of Pinocchio is Figaro. Like, it's the cat.
Okay, so Figaro, alright, whatever.
But yeah, Geppetto
But they take Geppetto and Figaro out of the... Maybe that's the problem with the movie, is that they take the best parts of the movie out of the movie for the whole middle of the movie.
Yeah, because Pinocchio is not really that interesting.
And neither is Jiminy Cricket. Ugh. Okay, fair enough.
So my last question was, out of these 10 movies, which world would you want to spend a day in? if you could pick one of the worlds to live in for a day.
That's rather interesting. I'm gonna have to go with Zootopia.
So why would you pick Zootopia?
Because it's craziest. It's crazy.
It is crazy, although you'd be the only person. Or so if you had to live there, what kind of animal would you be to live there?
I would say orca, but you couldn't live as an orca. I'm going to go with something that's in between prey and predator. I'm going to go with pig. Wild boar.
So initially I thought of that question because I was like, oh, how cool would it be to be in Zootopia? It'd be so cool. But I would want to live in that darn cat so I could have the pants, the skirt suit. I'm still dreaming about the skirt suit.
Fair enough.
So I could have the outfits because they had such amazing costumes.
For dudes, that doesn't really play out. I mean, if I was going to have a costume, I'd want
the spacesuit from Oddball.
Yeah, the spacesuit from UFO or...
Yeah. Those are the only questions I had.
Yeah, me too. We hope that you like our recap episodes and which we call a bonus, even though it's just a recap.
It's a bonus. It's an extra episode for the week.
It's extra time that we get to spend with y'all.
Yeah.
We don't do plugs on this because that's lame. Just thanks for subscribing, listening, liking, loving. We love you. This has been At the Disney Movies with the Harts.
I'm Kelly.
I'm David.
Bye!